Super Mario 64's environments are places that we know like the back of our hands. We've ran through them countless times and have obtained the stars again and again. But what I love about the impeccable memory of these levels is our ability to adapt to changes within the world. We know where everything is at, but we don't quite know exactly how it will be affected if something changed, if the world around us was a bit more wet. So in this video, we're going to invert all the levels you know and love from the game and completely change how they behave. We're setting out to see if it is possible to beat Super Mario 64 if all the levels are flooded with water. So by now on this channel, you've probably seen a few videos kicking around the ideas that led to this challenge. A while ago, we flooded a bomb battlefield to see how the game would respond to having water encompass the entire landscape. And just recently, we did the opposite of Jolly Roger Bay. We drained it completely of water to see what it would be like taking on this level devoid of its usual setting. These two videos are basically tests for this video, because in this video, we are flooding every level as normally dry, and we are draining the water from every water level. The concept as a whole is to see if you can beat Super Mario 64 if the whole game is flooded, but it's pointless to flood levels that are already giant pools of water. So to add some extra flair to the challenge, we are adding the sub-rule that water levels will be waterless. Before starting though, there are a few other things we should probably make note of. Majority of Super Mario 64 challenge videos take on a similar problem scheme. Certain objects become problems, and key stars like Bowser's Sub and Nintega-Dario docks are repeatable issues. So in this run, we are going to eliminate some of the problems we came across in my previous run while holding a box the entire game. Nintega-Dario Dock's submarine star is going to be immune during this run, and I'll explain why when we get to it. Also, because Mario can't swim through doors, just like he couldn't go through them while holding a box, levels that have doors will actually have all doors removed in this run. This is so that Mario can actually explore the level as needed. You can always jump out of bounds in Hazy Maze Cave to get to other parts of the level, but there's something about a freely open, all underwater cave that seems absolutely terrifying. Which brings us to another rule. Water height levels for all stages will be set just below the highest standable surface in the level. So Bob-omb Battlefield's water level will be set just to below where King Bob-omb stands. Big Boo's haunt will be set to the upper roof and the yellow floating block on top of the mansion, and so on. This will be established for each level. Given the nature of water in general, if a level has an interior section and the entrance of that interior or separate map is underwater, that means the entire subregion will be flooded completely. Sometimes this means that Mario won't be able to go to the surface to get air, so coins are the only way Mario can breathe. Never understood how that worked, but here we are with Mario harnessing the power of money for life. For this run, the Castle Hub world itself will not be flooded, as Mario does need to be able to go through doors to transition maps. Any environments branching off it will be flooded though. The last thing I want to touch on before jumping into our deep dive is the one property of water we will always have to deal with within the game. When Mario jumps into water or touches water of any kind, he will always be warped to the top of the water. This is because Mario can only enter water at the top of the water region. You've probably seen this in action during speedruns where people warp up Tall Mountain. This definitely will play a role in our quests, so I wanted to point it out. With that though, it's time to swan dive into our water world. First up, as always, is Bob-omb Battlefield. Since the water is set right below the upper part of the mountain, obtaining our first star is pretty easy. We just swim up to King Bob-omb and carry on the fight as usual. For those curious, if for some reason the water was actually higher than King Bob-omb, we wouldn't be able to start the fight with him. Throwing the king into water breaks him as well. So there's that. And although King Bob-omb wasn't any trouble, things definitely remain rocky moving forward. Koopa the Quick star is unobtainable because we can't activate NPC dialogue while underwater, so he's a bust. Even if we could, Koopa the Quick doesn't behave correctly underwater, and he'd be doomed as soon as he jumps. NPCs don't know how to land on solid ground while underwater, so they indefinitely slide, meaning Koopa the Quick will fall off track of his route. This is something I covered in my flooded Bob-omb Battlefield video, as will be some of these next following points. Shoot to the island in the sky was initially thought to be unattainable because the yellow block that contains the star is underwater. Mario can't break the block by swimming into it at all. But if we bring the cork box from the beginning of the level, we can throw it at the box and smash it, thus giving us the star. Mario Wings to the Sky is unfortunately unattainable for a few reasons. For starters, the water level on the stage is too low for us to get the final ring of coins. And beyond that, we can't activate the cannon or even use the cannon to get the coins. Using a cannon underwater causes a state change in Mario, which makes him re-enter water again. So touching a cannon warps Mario back to the surface instantly. Behind Chain Chomp's gate can't be obtained either because, well, the Chain Chomp floats? But beyond that, we can't set them free as we can't ground pound underwater. We can't clip through the gate either because momentum underwater is sort of static, even when throwing objects. We can complete Find the 8 red coins though, which gives us a total of 3 stars obtainable and 3 that are not. As a side note, we're going to save all the 100 coin stars until we absolutely need them though. They are by far the hardest stars to collect because for certain levels, you'll have to ride out your run perfectly, or drown trying. If we luck out and don't need them, we'll save ourselves a ton of work and prevent a lot of Mario deaths. Our goal is to get 70 stars in total. Moving on to Whomp's Fortress, we run into issues immediately. Chip off Whomp's block isn't obtainable because the Whomp King can't be activated while underwater. Technically, the highest surface in this level is the Kaze Island in the sky, so the water level needs to be set to be even with that. Because we can't get the Whomp King star, that means we can never load a scenario that has the fortress completed. Even if you go onto a later star's mission, the Whomp King needs to be defeated for the tower to appear. So star 2 to the top of the fortress is out. Fall into the Cage Island is also out, because with the water level set to where it is, we can't jump into the cage. We only can bump into the edge and fall back into the water. Since the previous platforms are underwater, we can't triple jump dive to get the star without the owl. And even if the owl could be spawned, we wouldn't be able to start a conversation with him underwater. Red coins on the floating island can be obtained, as can shoots into the wild blue. Both are pretty easy stars. Blast away the wall isn't obtainable though because we can't use a can to blast the wall. We can't clip through the geometry either to get the star like speedrunners do because underwater physics are different than normal physics. Even if we swim under the level and out of bounds, causing us to swim through the level, we still can't get the star. This is because walls underwater behave differently than walls outside of water. Underwater, there's always a buffer of space between Mario and the wall. He cannot occupy the immediate spacing next to a wall like he could if there wasn't water. This means Mario will always be prevented from getting close to walls underwater. And in our out of bounds example, the increasing narrowness of the ledge causes us to be forced into bounds because of this set buffer barrier. The wall becomes too thin, and due to being underwater, we are instantly forced into bounds. This leaves us with 2 obtainable stars and 4 that are not. Onwards to Cool Mountain, an awful level for a water challenge, because water inside of snow levels has a chilled effect, thus making it so you take damage rapidly. This also means you cannot restore your health by going to the surface of the water. So yeah, this level is a nightmare. You pretty much have to plot out all your one-way routes to be guided by coins so you don't die. Luckily, the slide area of this level does not have chilled water by default. Slip sliding away is a unique star that we often grant immunity to because it's the only door warp in the game within a level. Since doors were removed in levels to grant freedom of movement, this doorway acts as a normal warp, allowing us to grab the first star. But our troubles begin immediately after this. Little Penguin Lost can't be completed because the mother penguin can't be activated while underwater. So you just freeze to death with her child in your hands. Big Penguin Race can't be obtained either because you can't interact with the penguin underwater. Even if you could, swimming is far too slow to be able to win the race at all. Frost Slide for 8 red coins is probably the worst star this level has to offer though, minus anyone brave enough to go for the 100 coin star. You have to essentially plan your dives ahead of time, knowing that you won't be able to heal upon return to the surface. You will die countless times. Eventually you can get the hang of it, but at most you'll be able to grab 4 or 5 red coins total. In order to get the rest, and due to the health deficit at this point, it's much more manageable to then enter the penguin slide and swim down it maintaining your health. This will spit you out at the bottom of the level with 7 or 8 health chips, instead of the 4 or 5 you'd normally have when you go down here. With this health boost, you just have enough time to snipe the red coins at the bottom of the level and grab the star. If you overshoot any red coin at all in this run though, you are certainly going to lose a life. With this victory, we are met with another issue though. We can't start Snowman's Lost His Head since we never cleared the previous stars. However, we can swim down and grab wall kicks will work. This leaves us with 3 obtainable stars for this level and 3 that are not. Before heading into Jolly Roger Bay, let's tackle the castle secret stars we have access to so far. Peach's secret slide offers 2 stars that we cannot obtain at all. We can't break the box at the end, nor can we beat the time we need due to how slow swimming is. The secret aquarium also cannot be beaten due to our inverse rule set. The entire area is just a big room with no water in it, so we have no way of getting the red coins at the top. Since our star count is only at 8, we can't get into the wing cap stage yet, so off to Jolly Roger Bay we go. Jolly Roger Bay is completely devoid of any and all water. I won't spend too much time on all the ways this affects the level from a non-star obtaining perspective, since I already did that in a previous video. But I will restate that this level feels so weird without water, even weirder than all the other levels with water. Plunder the sunken ship can be obtained pretty normally by two methods. You can either wall kick your way back to the top to make the eel come out, or you can use your invincibility frames that are taking damage to sneak through him. Either way lets you get the star as usual. Can the eel come out to play is a bit different than usual though, since we actually have to make it onto the floating ship and jump onto the wall to get to where the eel comes out. With good timing, we can snag the star with a jump though. Treasure in the ocean cave is pretty much the same and easy to get, as is star 6 through the jet stream. There's no water, so you can just walk through the jet. With some nimble jumping, we can activate the cannon in this level, so we can blast the stone pillar to obtain its star as well. Red coins on the ship afloat is also obtainable. Just don't fall off at all because it's a long way down. With this, we have a perfect 6 stars. Even if there's water in this level, we would have gotten the 6 stars anyways, but this made it a bit more challenging. Again, we'll save the 100 coin star until we potentially absolutely need it. We'll move on to another castle secret star before confronting Bowser. Regardless of where you decide to set the water level, either at the top of the towers or the base of the level, the wing cap stage's red coins can be collected by flying or swimming. The switches can be hit underwater too, thus giving us the wing cap if we need it later on. With this, we gain a star and move onward to Bowser in the Dark World. Bowser in the Dark World is a fairly easy stage, given that its difficulty normally relied on its linear nature. We can swim anywhere we want, and thus grabbing the 8 red coins is pretty easy. The water level is set to just below the edges of the stage when we're fighting Bowser, so as long as we don't miss a throw, we'll be fine. If we do miss a throw, Bowser will fade off into the void, and then we'll have to restart. This whole fight gets really weird when water gets involved, but I made an entire video breaking it down if it interests you. But with this, we move on to the basement set of levels with a total of 16 stars to our name. Now that we're in the basement, I do want to bring up a reminder that all doors within stages have been removed. So heading into Big Boo's haunt is pretty interesting given that it's a huge underwater maze. Right off the bat, we're presented with an underwater mansion, and upon diving into it, we realize that the first star isn't going to be obtainable. Going on Ghost Hunt cannot be done since we cannot defeat boos underwater. We don't have any objects to throw at them either, since the jumping box outside just explodes when we try to throw it underwater. So star 1 is a bust. Oh, quick fun fact. The piano can fly after you underwater. If you thought it was scary before, well, now it can get you anywhere. Star 2 scenario cannot be loaded due to Star 1 not being obtained, and even if we cannot defeat the boos underwater. Secret of the Haunted Books cannot be done normally, but we can just swim up to the star and take it, so we might as well. Seek the 8 red coins can definitely be done, but you have to be careful with your health. Since they are scattered around different rooms, and since air can only be obtained outside near the roof, you have to pace things out. Big Boo's balcony is a bit weird, because under normal water circumstances, he shouldn't be defeatable, but the single yellow block nearby changes that. We're able to strike him simply because the top of the block acts as flat ground, and because we are still nearby enough for him to come after us. Eye to eye in the secret room is unfortunately unattainable though. Vanish Cap cannot be used since the block is underwater. This leaves us with 3 stars that are obtainable and 3 that are not. Speaking of Vanish Cap, let's head on out and actually unlock that. Collecting the red coins in this stage isn't too difficult at all, since we can't fall off the level. We can get them all easily though, snag the star and hit the switch, granting us the Vanish Cap ability. Onwards to Hazy Maze Cave, another level that is normally full of doors. This level is truly neat underwater. There's something about swimming through an underwater cave that gets deeper and deeper that is just awesome. For reference, the top of the water here is located at the highest standing position, which is near Watch for Falling Rocks. A lot of bizarre things happen in the cave too. Similar to what happens in Bob-omb Battlefield, the large falling rocks actually lose all their momentum when they fall into water, so they just stack up and bog down your game a ton. Also, Monty Moles attempt to swim, but they just look helpless as they float upwards. It's so strange. Anyways, swimming beasts in the cavern is doable as long as you hold your breath for a bit. The star is out in the open and can just be grabbed. Elevate for 8 red coins is not obtainable though, because there are cork boxes that contain red coins inside of them. Without a way to break these boxes, the star is a bust. Metal Mario Can Move also shares a similar fate. Even if we had a metal cap, we wouldn't be able to break open the box to put it on. We can't swim out of bounds either because it just warps us to the gate anytime we try to move past it. Hitting the switch is the only way to progress, and we can't do it. Navigate the Toxic Maze is obtainable, although a bit long for an underwater journey. Amazing Emergency Exit is something that can just be grabbed by swimming up to it, as can Watch for Falling Rocks. This gives us 4 obtainable stars and 2 that cannot be collected. Before moving on to another stage, let's talk about the metal cap area. We're able to enable the metal cap here, but getting the red coins is pretty much impossible. When the water is scaled up in this area, the current comes along with it. So the powerful force of the water pushes you backwards if you're above any parts of the river that normally push Mario back when the water is low. This means we cannot get the red coins here because we can't make it to them due to the slow state of the metal cap. Where the river flows, it keeps us from proceeding at all when the metal cap wears off, so this star is a lost cause. Next up, we have Lethal Lava Land. The water level here isn't terribly high due to the highest platform being where we get our first star, but it is enough to flood the entire interior of the volcano. Immediately entering the stage, we swim over to boil the big bully. We can't hit the bully ourselves normally because doing so would just warp us to the surface of the water again, but if we linger near the edge, we can bump into him repeatedly and he will eventually fall off and die. We can collect the star, and then the next star, Bully the Bullies, plays out the same way. Nothing in this level is honestly a threat to us given the immunity the water provides us, so we can swim around and collect the stars with ease. 8-coin puzzle with 15 pieces is a cakewalk since we can't fall, as is Red Hot Log Rolling. Both hot foot into the volcano and elevator tour in the volcano are a breeze as well since the entire interior of the volcano is flooded. This gives us a perfect score of 6 obtainable stars. Floating into Shifting Sandland, most of the perils here are null as well. The water level is set to where the pyramid top explodes, since that's the highest standing point. This makes grabbing Shining atop the pyramid a breeze, but going after it in the talons of the big bird is a bit more annoying. We basically have to swim after the bird and jump up to hop off the bird's head. If done correctly, we can snag that star too. Swimming into the pyramid for star 3 isn't too challenging either. We just have to make our way to the top and grab the star. When it comes to stand tall on the 4 pillars, we encounter an issue though. We can make it to all 4 pillars with ease, thus blowing off the top of the pyramid. We actually don't have to do this since we can swim anywhere in the pyramid, but it can be done. But when we get inside to face IROC, we realize that there is no way to hurt him. On top of that, he's extremely glitched when underwater. He just maintains a frozen idle animation as he slowly floats upwards, eventually clipping through the ceiling as we drown. So star 4 is a no-go because of this. Star 5 shares a similar fate too. We can swim around and collect most of the red coins for free flying for 8 red coins, but we can't get the ones hidden inside the giant cork boxes. Nothing we do or throw will break these boxes, so we can't get the coins inside. Star 6 is certainly doable though, as we can swim to all the pyramid secrets and activate them. This gives us 4 obtainable stars and 2 that are not. Currently, we are at 34 stars total. We can snag Mips in the basement and talk to Toad for 2 more stars, bringing our count up to 36. We then unlock the star door and head into Dire Dire Docks. Now, Dire Dire Docks is under a similar rule set like Jolly Roger Bay. However, star 1's effect is grand immunity. If it wasn't, the run would be over. But since we only drain the water in these water-based stages to increase the challenge of them and not have them be freebies, we give star 1 a grace. Because the other option will be this level being completely flooded, which it already is, and that would make getting all the stars absolutely normal. So star 1 is quote-unquote cleared so that we can access Bowser in the Fire Sea, but we don't add it to our star count. It's way too high up to reach once we get to this part of the stage. Back at the beginning of the level, chests in the current is doable and is pretty easy without water, but that's where things take a bad turn though. In order to access the second half of the level, we have to do a very annoying series of wall kicks up the tunnel and hope we don't mess up. Pole jumping for red coins and collect the caps cannot be completed due to Mario not being able to access the top half of the level. The walls are too high and there is no way for a human player to get up there. Through the jet stream can be obtained by just jumping repeatedly in the stream, but the Manta Ray's reward cannot be obtained due to not being able to reach the rings. This leaves us with 2 obtainable stars and 4 that are not. Onward to Bowser in the Fire Sea, and onwards to just swimming around, snagging some red coins, and then fighting Bowser. We collect a red coin star as we start our second fight. This fight is actually easier than usual since once the ground is flipped over, we basically slide right into the water, stopping us from sliding. As the platform resets, we are brought back up to solid ground. With a well-placed throw, Bowser is defeated, and we move on to the upper part of the castle. Once upstairs, we jump straight into Tall Mountain. Swimming around this area is a bit weird because there seems to be invisible walls that Mario runs into, preventing him from moving. I'm thinking these are extensions of the flowing water that is at the bottom of the level. They serve as barriers that Mario can get hung up on. In terms of stars, Scale the Mountain has never been easier, nor has Breathtaking View from the Bridge. They are all in the same area and can be gone with ease. Mystery of the Monkey Cage is a different story though. We can catch the monkey, but the area the monkey walks down to is underwater. This means we can't activate the monkey's dialogue that then triggers the cage being broken. So this star is a bust because you can't collect the star unless the cage is opened by the monkey. We can obtain Scary Shroom's red coins and blast to the Lonely Mushroom though with ease. Just like in Hazy Maze Cave, the Monty Moles begin to float off into the great beyond when we swim by them too. The last star we have our eyes on now is the mysterious mountainside. And while it is possible to swim entirely down the slide due to how many coins are present to refill our health, it is a pointless challenge, because once we reach the end, Mario is warped back to the main map and enters the water again. Since Mario can only enter water at the top, he's warped all the way to the top of the level. So we might as well have swam down in the first place and grabbed the star on the cliffside. With this final star, we leave the level with 5 obtainable stars out of 6. With Tall Mountain complete, we're heading to another deadly winter stage, Snowman's Land. Just like in Cool Mountain, the water in this stage is chilled and will constantly damage Mario. So in order to collect the stars here, we are going to have to move fast. Snowman's big head isn't a problem, since we can beeline it straight to the star at the top of the stage. And the deep freeze doesn't cause us too many issues either, since we just have to swim down to the ice block and grab the star from above. Chill with the bully does present us with a problem though. Anytime we are bumped by a bully enemy, Mario re-enters water, which means we are forced way up into the air where the top of the level is. This makes bumping into the bully repeatedly not possible. It might be possible to get the star by some stroke of luck, but you don't have enough time before the icy water kills you. So even though there's a slim possibility the star is obtainable, we're marking it off as not obtainable in our run. I tried lots of times with no luck. Moving on to shell shredding for red coins, this star is certainly doable, but you need to plan your route accordingly so you don't drown early. Luckily, the coins aren't spaced out too far. The last 2 stars are unfortunately a no-go though. We can't open boxes underwater for World from the Freezing Pond, and we can't go into the igloo because we can't crawl. The extra buffer between Mario and the walls while underwater prevents us from getting close to the igloo. So with this, we exit this bitter cold level with 3 stars, and leave behind 3 in the depths of the water. Going into Tiny Huge Island, there's something important to note. Due to the water buffer between Mario and objects when underwater, pipes don't work. You can't actually swim inside of a pipe to use it, as it will constantly push you out. This means that in order to change to the different sized worlds, you actually have to leave the level and go into the opposite painting. This makes the process for this level a bit longer, but it's manageable. Starting off, pluck the piranha plant is a no-go. When we go to the area with the piranha plants, we realize we can't actually damage the plants underwater, so defeating them is impossible. Moving on to the next star, the tip top of the huge island ends up leaving us empty-handed as well. The water level is set to the very top of the island, so the block we need is underwater. Trying to pick up a Chuckya and tossing them into the box doesn't work either, as Chuckyas instantly explode when thrown underwater. Even if they could be thrown, they don't deal damage like a thrown cork box does. So this star is also out. And of course, since Koopa the Quick is underwater, that means we can't talk to him. So that star is out too. We can collect the 5 itty bitty secrets though, yielding our first star that we can actually obtain. If we swim into the bottom half of Wiggler's cave, we can also obtain the star for Wiggler's red coins, since they are all there. However, Wiggler himself cannot be defeated. Wiggler is frozen in place, and Mario can just swim through him. We can't even get to him anyways, since we need to go from the tiny map to the large map, which is impossible without pipes. This unfortunately leaves us with 2 obtainable stars in this level. Currently, we have 49 stars total. If we talk to Toad in the hallway, that gives us another one, bringing us up to 50. Since we're at 50 stars, we can now capture Mips again in the basement to secure 51, since he reappears after 50 stars total. We can also open the door at the top of the steps and get Toad to give us another one, boosting us up to 52 total stars. But this leaves us in a unique situation, because we're going to need 70 power stars to get through Bowser's last door. Mind you, we're not going to be using any glitches to bypass doors. So that means we need to obtain 18 more stars from 3 levels, plus a bonus level that has an opportunity for 1 star. Ruling out the 100 coin stars for the moment, that means we can only miss 1 star. If things go south, we'll have to figure out what 100 coin stars are possible from all the previous levels, and seek them out. We haven't had too great of luck, but hopefully things will turn around for us. For now though, let's head into Wet Dry World. Now, this level in particular is unlike its name, because there isn't any water at all. This level is bone dry, and there is no way to restore the water that was once here. So we'll have to tackle this level a bit differently. Shocking arrow lifts, for those who don't want to use the warp, can be achieved by having the heave hose launch you to the top of the stage. You can then launch over to the arrow lifts and grab yourself a reward. Top of the town is derived from the same path, and if you can make it to the top of the level, you can simply grab it. Express Elevator Hurry Up is another star that is simple and can be obtained normally with a wall kick and ride up to it. Knocking out all the secrets for the secrets in the shallows and skies is definitely doable too, as the gameplay is relatively the same as a normal Mario 64 run. In order to secure the next stars, we'll need to ready the cannon. The problem is, the ping bomb is floating high in the sky on a platform. It's a bit annoying, but with a triple jump, we can make it onto the cylinder nearby, which does grant us enough height for a long jump over to him. Just be careful not to slide off when you land. With the cannon activated, we can now shoot into the sky and into the Kaze tunnel area. Exiting the tunnel is a bit tricky without water though, since the gap to exit is a narrow slit at the top of the ceiling. With a well-placed wall kick and dive though, we can fall through. Since we have the Vanish Cap unlocked, we can go ahead and use it to obtain the quick race through Downtown Star. Heading back inside, with some careful jumping, we can obtain all the red coins in the area as well. This grants us a perfect score of 6 obtainable stars. Heading upstairs, we jump straight into Tick-Tock Clock. We spawn at the top of the clock due to the water level being so high and have to immediately make our way down to the lower stars. We'll go for the red coins first, which don't pose much of a threat since there's a heart nearby to restore our health. It's an easy star to grab. Actually, all the stars here are super easy. Tick-Tock Clock doesn't have any perils at all when it's flooded. You can swim to each and every star and collect it. Roll into the cage, the pits and the pendulums, get a hand, stomp the thwomp, time jumps on moving bars. We pack our wet bags quickly with a stage surprisingly, and head on out with 6 additional stars. Before heading to Rainbow Ride, we're going to tackle Wing Mario Over the Rainbow, a level that absolutely terrified me upon entering it. Because although this level is super chipper, it actually, somehow, behaves like a snow level. All the water here is frigid and causes you to lose health rapidly, which is a bummer because we're on a quest for 8 red coins in a level that has a low coin count. So unless you go on a specific path in this level when collecting the red coins, you'll certainly die. Over and over again. It doesn't help that you spawn directly in water because the highest standable surface is an adjacent cloud. Thankfully, there are yellow coins at the top which can be helpful for granting health, but this level is still a pain. You can use the wing cap power-up to strategically place yourself in areas which cuts down on your swimming distance greatly. If you play your cards right, you'll secure a star and move on. Now, going to Rainbow Ride, I was terrified that the level was going to be a giant cold bath like the previous sky level we just played. That would make it an absolute nightmare due to how widespread the level is, but for some reason, Rainbow Ride wasn't classified as a snow level when it came to water, so my worries were instantly resolved. Without the cold water, this level is smooth sailing. Cruiser crossing the rainbow, the big house in the sky, coins amassed in a maze, swinging in the breeze, and tricky triangles are all very, very simple. Just swim to the location and take what's yours. Unfortunately, somewhere over the rainbow isn't doable though, because it is locked within a block. The water level is set at the top of the giant house in the sky, so we can't break it open. With this, we walk away with 5 stars total, bringing our grand total to exactly 70 stars. Talk about lucky! With this, we can open Bowser's door and head to the final fight. Before going up though, let's talk about some 100 coin stars briefly, since I'm sure some of you are curious. The bomb battlefield was deemed unattainable since you can't get coins out of posts or reach all the coins in the sky. Due to the actual coin count though, it looks obtainable. Just grabbing coins from enemies that die upon loading in is a bit annoying. Womp's Fortress has 101 coins total if you cut out the Womps and blue coin switch. Cool Cool Mountain would be a nightmare, but the numbers check out. Spin Drifts can't be killed underwater though, so that cuts out coins. Jolly Roger Bay is doable and pretty standard even without water. Big Boost Haunt is a no-go because there are like 18 blue coins we can't collect there, excluding 3 we can get from Mr. Eyes. Hazy Maze Cave is also a no-go because we can't defeat enemies underwater, or activate the blue coin switch. Lethal Lava Land is obtainable and relatively easy due to there being no hazards. Shifting Sand Land generally would be pretty difficult because Goombas turn to coins as soon as they load, and due to how widespread they are in the pyramid, you're going to lose coins. The coin count checks out though. Dire Docks is an automatic no since we can't reach the blue coin switch and it only has 106 total coins. Snowman's Land can't be done because we can't get inside the igloo and we can't defeat enemies underwater. Wet Dry World can be done in the first area and it isn't too challenging. Tall Mountain can also be obtained. Tiny Huge Island can't be accomplished even though there are 148 coins in the large map alone. All Goombas immediately create a 4 coin deficit per Goomba due to dying from underwater, and there's 11 of them. They create a single yellow coin instead of the blue ones they could give. There's also 5 undefeatable giant piranha plants, a blue coin switch, and 10 coins locked in Wiggler's off-axis boss room. Tick-Tock Clock cannot be done because there are 7 blue coins you cannot get, which drop the total coin count to 91. And last, but not least, Rainbow Ride is still doable even with the blue coin deficit. So if we tack on these extra stars in theory, we can boost our star count by 9 before heading up to Bowser. I'll be honest, and will put a disclaimer, that I did not do some of these 100 coin stars, but a handful of them were accomplished. Bowser in the Sky is of course a super simple level with water, and we can swim to all the red coins to grab ourselves a final star, bringing our grand total up to 80 stars. Fighting Bowser is pretty much the same as all the others, just don't miss a throw. You have infinite health though, since you can always hop into the water to restore it, so the fight is generally simple. Something funny that happened though was that Bowser was grabbed one time while moving off a ledge. When this happens, Mario is warped to the bottom of the map, triggering the death barrier. But because this put Mario inside of water, the water then forced Mario to spawn at the top of the map again instantly. Basically, I died in a weird way. But with Bowser's defeat, we can enjoy a waterlogged ending cutscene. Mario isn't affected by the water though, but we can see it loaded around his face if we set the water height to where he is standing. It is funny to see Mario swimming in various locations during the actual credit sequence though. But with this, we've proven that it is indeed possible to beat Super Mario 64 if the entire game is flooded. Our long underwater adventure has finally come to a close. And last, a huge shout out to Kaze and Emanuar for helping out with the water aspects in this video, as it certainly wouldn't have been possible without him. And with that, thanks for watching guys and gals, and until my next video, cheers.